Okay, I'm going to start off by doing a reading from the language of letting go. It's actually tomorrow's reading, but I also posted it this morning on Facebook. Prayer. As a matter of fact, prayer is the only real action in the full sense of the word, because prayer is the only thing that changes one's character. A change in character or a change in soul is a real change. That's by Emmett Fox when he wrote the Sermon on the Mount. Erica Long has said that we are spiritual beings who are human. Praying and meditating are ways we take care of our spirit. Prayer and meditation are disciplines suggested by all of the 12-step recovery programs. Prayer and meditation are not necessarily connected to organized religion. Prayer and meditation are ways to improve our personal relationship with a higher power or a higher purpose to benefit ourselves, our life, and our growth. Praying is how we connect with God. We don't pray because we have to. Pray because we want to. It's how we link our soul to our source. Each time we talk to God, we are transformed. Each time we connect with our higher power, we are heard, touched, and changed for the best. They all practice prayer and meditation, whether I feel desperate, uneasy, or peaceful. I will take the effort to connect with my higher power, at least for a few moments each day. I wanted to share that because I want to get into addictions tonight that basically I think kind of come out of some solid areas. We'll talk a lot about them. We're going to talk a lot about isolation addictions. I call them avoidance addictions, but really in reality, these addictions many times are centered around loneliness, sadness, secrets, fear especially of abandonment or loss, control, all these, and also a need for protection. These basically are the addictions that we migrate towards when we have all these elements and these fears inside of ourselves, because we're trying to find something to hold on to, something to have a sense of structure to, something that we can basically have a foothold on. And we talked about those addictions last week: drugs and alcohol, workaholism, relationships, anorexia. And also I added three more to it that we can connect to when it comes to addiction. Religion can be an addiction, cults, cluttering. All these things basically fall into this category, the category of isolation addictions. What I want to talk about tonight, though, is to kind of take you through them and show you the connections to what's going on, and then basically how the recovery process actually works. We talk about drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol, many times in these particular individuals, are people that are self-medicating because basically they really have a lot of internal issues going on, and so they medicate them to be able to get through them. They also have a tendency very many times to use these self-medications as a way to survive. And that connects right into workaholism, where basically they can use a job as a medication, and basically they use it primarily as an identity. See, we're looking at really in these addictions, what I refer to as spiritual emptiness. These are individuals who basically on the inside have a sense of not who they really are, a sense of emptiness, a sense of loneliness. And as a result, then, they basically function on the outside. But in their functioning, very many times, they have a tendency to literally almost take people hostage. They literally try to control everything. And as a result, they don't realize indirectly they're out of control. And I'll show you what I mean. When it comes to these different types of addictions, we have a tendency very many times, deep down inside, to migrate towards them. I'm looking for something to hang on to. The drug and alcohol type person uses drugs and alcohol to avoid having to be in touch with feelings, or having to actually deal with the loneliness and the emptiness on the inside. The workaholic uses their job as an identity, because they have no sense of their own identity themselves. The relationship addictions, basically, I can try to take somebody hostage and let them be everything I want them to be. And as a result, then I live my life around them. But anorexia is the exact same thing. It's literally, I need somebody to always take care of me. I want to be taken care of. I don't really want to grow up. I don't really want to be responsible. I can make religion into an addiction because it comes down to, if you don't believe what I believe, then basically you need to get away from me. Everything's bases around the concept of avoidance. Cults, you migrate into these because I find a place where I can finally belong, even though what I'm doing is I'm giving my allegiance to someone or something that literally in the long term is not healthy for me. And the same thing with cluttering. I can have things around me to protect me, to isolate me, to make me stay away from things that are happening. I bring this out because I want to talk tonight about the real spiritual concept of these addictions and how the recovery process does work. Unfortunately, for many of these addictions, people do not get into recovery so easily. And usually it's because something happens to expose them. For example, with drugs and alcohol, it's almost like their tolerance level begins to change, then their behavior begins to change. And as a result, they have a tendency then to begin to act out a little bit. And as a result, people begin to see them changing. Because remember, isolators are predictable. They're always on. They're always in sync. And as that begins to change, people begin to see things that are wrong with them. Things begin to change in that direction. Same thing when it comes to the job. As soon as change comes along, they're scared of change because they literally want to be in the control. So want things to be the way I want them to be. And many times they will act out and they literally will get upset and they will literally, it's like you're trying to take away my identity and give me a new identity. So I get scared, I get afraid. And as a result, the behavior comes from it. Also, as regards eating disorders with anorexia, very many times we have a tendency to literally go back into the womb, go back into the childhood. I always need somebody, please take care of me. Tell me what to do. Years ago, there was a movie called Marty. And Marty was an interesting movie. I'm going way back now. I know you don't remember this one, especially the younger people here. It goes way back. But Marty is the kind of individual, the personality, where basically they ask Marty, what do you want to do, Marty? Whatever you want to do. Where do you want to go? Wherever you want to go. What do you want to eat? Whatever you want to eat. And bottom line is, Marty is telling everybody, you make all the decisions for me. But now watch how that works. You make all the decisions for me. You take all the responsibility. And if it doesn't work out, then I can blame you and I can literally come back at you. That's basically one of the faces of these types of addictions. I constantly do not want to be responsible to look at my own self or my own behavior or look at the inside. So like Marty, I really want somebody else to make decisions for me because I'm scared, I'm afraid. But the bottom line is I have a tremendous fear of loss, tremendous fear of abandonment, tremendous fear of rejection. When those things come along, it's like I come apart on the inside. Because isolators really have this drive inside of themselves to literally always have themselves together, to be in kind of that position. And very many times when we work with them and we begin to bring them into treatment, and believe me, they don't come into treatment that easily. Very many times they may do things. I give you an example when it comes to relationships. Many times, if you actually finally get tired of their behavior and you begin to confront them, they get very angry, they get very scared, they get very afraid, and they can do some very crazy stuff. See, it's almost like if you take away their identity, you're supposed to be taking care of me. You're supposed to be the person I never had before. So now if you choose to leave, I have to either get help or play a game called rebounding. Rebounding means I find somebody to take your place. As a result, I'm too scared to be alone. I'm too scared to be by myself. And for many of us, that is one of the scariest things on the face of the earth, to have to face our own emptiness, to face our own loneliness. Because really, in reality, it comes down to something we talk about in codependency circles all the time. The ultimate relationship that we have in life is the one that we have with ourselves. Each and every one of us is a unique and a very special individual. And only until I can spiritually go inside, develop a sense of myself as a person, I can then share my spirit and my energy with others. But I also realize, and Loretta mentioned this tonight about that workshop, by the law of attraction, you attract into your life what's going on inside of you. So if I'm empty, I'm going to attract people that are like me. I'm going to basically have a tendency very many times to move in negative directions. And so as a result, I need to be able to relax, take it easy, and begin to get help and get guidance and get direction to help me go on a journey to find out who I really am on the inside. And I share this from the personal level because I never realized this, and I'll talk more about this when I get to the caretaker part, but I never realized deep down inside of myself that for the first 44 years of my life, I had no idea who I was. Oh, I know that I was able to perform and function on the outside, but there was no inside. And I never totally understood that concept about being spiritually dead. And I realized over and over again, the journey of recovery is a powerful journey. It's beautiful. And yet it starts with that first step. I have to admit and get in touch with it. Now, the thing I want to bring out to you is very many times this is kind of tough because admitting for many of these addictions usually means somebody has penetrated my secret. Somebody has finally been able to get through. And I'm now beginning to be scared, to be afraid. I'm beginning to feel the pain and feel the struggle. And as a result, I have to get to that point where I'm open and willing to ask for help, to ask for guidance, to ask for direction. And believe me, it's not easy because literally I want it, but at the same time, I'm scared of it. I don't know if that makes much sense to you or not. I'm afraid of it. At the same time, I really want it. And so the recovery process is pretty powerful, and our 12-step program is beautiful in this way. Because all these addictions connect us back to the fact that we literally need to be able to reconnect with the recovery process. And this is where the steps come into place with all of these. I'm grateful today because literally there are more than plenty of different 12-step programs to deal with many of these things we're talking about today. But to break the pattern of control is really scary. I want to use the example of cults, things in that direction. When people migrate into that, it's almost like they have a tendency to put somebody up on a pedestal. And then no matter what they do, no matter what they say, I just follow. What does it come down to? It comes down to what I talked about before. I want you to tell me who I am. I want you to identify who I am. And so my identity becomes centralized on you, not on me. So as a result, then, if you tell me what to do and how to do it, then I will do it. So as a result, then, there's dependency in that process. So to break that dependency means that very many times I need to be able to experience being exposed to what's really going on, to have to really feel the pain of realizing the fact that I've been used, I've been taken care of. I don't know. And I'm going to tell you right now, the hardest thing in the world is to have to stand still, look within the mirror and say, who am I? What am I all about? Where am I going? And I have a tremendous amount of gratitude today for our 12-step program because the founders understood this. They knew that the majority of alcoholics, even back then, were self-medicating because deep down inside, they had this empty void, this spiritual void inside of them. And through the steps, when they put the steps together, the founders created 11 steps for us just to work on ourselves, to come to a spiritual awakening of who we are as a person. And I am so grateful, with so much gratitude, because I know where I could fit into many of these addictions. Because again, it's the concept that I literally am searching on the outside for something instead of searching on the inside. And I realize now, when I truly do invest in myself, invest in my life, and begin to see a sense of who I am as a person and be comfortable, it's almost like I have to constantly break these barriers and move into a new direction. These addictions are scary. They really are. Because what's scary about these particular addictions, once you get into them, it's almost like it's very difficult to break out of them. I'm going to use the example of clutterers because there is a program called Clutterers Anonymous. Believe it or not, it's a very strong program over in Pennsylvania. What's so beautiful about this program is they literally have to work with people to help them break a pattern in their life. Now, I'll give you an example of this. A good friend of mine, who I know from Pennsylvania, who's a clutterer, and for years and years and years, he lived in a house where if you went into his house, it was only the simple path that you walked down. Everything else was piled around him. Old TVs, newspapers, all kinds of stuff. It was a fire hazard, the entire house was. And the only way we got him into recovery to begin to break that pattern was, first of all, the landlord reported him to the fire department. They came out and inspected, and they told him that he didn't have that house cleared out. He was out. He got scared, he got afraid. But thank God he was able to have some people to come and help him. And the most horrible thing in the world happened to him because it was like going through detox. They start taking all of his stuff out of the house. They start throwing a lot of it away. And when he went through that, it's almost like he was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. He actually had to be hospitalized. They cleared his apartment out. People came from Clutters Anonymous to meet with him. A therapist worked with him. And he was able finally to begin the journey in the other direction. But I'm going to tell you, he went through a horrible change process in his life. See, we talk about detox. You got to realize detoxing from some of these things is really scary. Because again, what you're doing is you're actually connecting me back to my emptiness and my loneliness. I've worked with cults in the past. I worked with parents that were connected to their kids that were in cults. And they almost had to be deprogrammed and desensitized back into the world, back into reality. Reality was scary for them. And very many times when you began to work and move them back into reality, I'm thinking of a particular group I work with, you know, I've seen people get very close to nervous breakdowns, very close to having to be hospitalized, very close to literally having to go into some sort of a rehab type center, mental health primarily, to get them through this process. It isn't easy because, again, what you're doing is you're taking away the one thing they identified with, the one thing that was taking care of them. Now, many times when we look at these types of addictions, we look back and we see for girls, very many times, there are major father issues. They're searching for the daddy they never had. But again, what are they really searching for? They're searching for someone that they can rely on. You know, you want to use the term knight in shining armor. Someone that literally will take care of things for them, and also help them to be able to navigate life. For little boys, very many times, it's like mom with their become addicted to mom and they stay in the nest. How many times one of the most powerful things in the world is I get these phone calls 2 or 3 times a week from a mother that will call me up and say to me, my son, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. All he does is eat and sleep and watch TV. I said, how old is your son? He's 42. But really, in reality, people like this who are scared to grow up, scared to move forward. They like to have like a mommy figure that will do everything for them, take care of them. And as a result, then they literally are able to negotiate to take people hostage. It's totally amazing. And kids can take their parents hostage. Another good example of this, we see a lot of times in some 12-step programs. We have a nickname for everything in 12-step programs, but there's a thing called 13 stepping, where very many times I'm looking for somebody, to take care of me. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. This is also a true case study. Whenever I give case studies, by the way, I'm not telling the whole story because I have to protect people. Because basically, I kind of add things to it back and forth, but I want to get the point across. But this particular lady went through rehab. She had an excellent job. She made good money. She's in the workforce. And basically, after rehab, she started going to AA meetings. This gentleman in AA decided to befriend her. He befriended her to such a point, they became such close friends that he literally began to date her. Now she's married. She has 3 kids. But he was like this adventure to her. And as a result, then, he ended up moving in with her. And basically, it's like the mother-child thing again. She paid all the bills. She supplied the place to live. She took care of him. He literally lived off of her until she finally woke up. But it's sad because she's vulnerable. She fell into a trap. And the bottom line was she couldn't see it. That's the scary thing about this process of these addictions. And so the recovery process is a very good process. But in many cases, people can really lose it. When it comes to relationships, a lot of times we've seen when people finally make that break and move away from it, the other individual can literally fall apart. Or like I said before, get into rebounding to find somebody to take their place. One of the classic stories I'll never forget. And after all these years, I've seen a lot. I had a lady come to see me one time and she said, I really like this guy. We really get along great. We're doing real good. He's asked me to move in with him. And I did. And we have a good relationship, she said, but there's a couple little things that are strange about him. And I said, what? Well, in our bedroom, he has a photograph of him and his ex-wife on the wall. I said, whoa. He said, and the thing that scares me the most is she looks a lot like me. Basically, what's he doing? He's actually saying, you're second best. If my first wife decides to come back, I'll get rid of you in 2 seconds flat. You're a fill-in. But yet it was very difficult trying to work with her and get her to take a look at that because her emotional system. See, I look at this and I share this with you because I truly believe this. These are addictions of the emotions. And emotional addictions are powerful addictions. And very many times, unfortunately, people have to go through pretty serious detox and transition and finally be able, they need a lot of support and a lot of help to help them move into the recovery process. But it does work. but it does take time and it takes investment. And here's where there's that little bond between codependency and recovery. Unfortunately, with many of these particular addictions, these individuals need strong supervision and strong individuals to help them through the process. Now, in the program, we call them strong sponsors, but also they need therapy and they're able to work through these things. But the most important thing is they have to be able to go down to the roots and foundations of where this comes from. And all these addictions are connected with codependency. And until they go back and look at the roots and the foundations of where they're coming from, they have a tendency to migrate from one to another and bounce back and forth. But that bottom line is the most important thing to remember, is that concept of a fear of others on the outside coming in to take stuff away from me. A lot of fear, a lot of control, a lot of anxiety. That is the hard part about breaking these patterns. And unfortunately, to get people into recovery, a lot of times they have to go almost down to the bottom. I remember taking a young girl into rehab for her anorexia. And, basically she had gone down to she was 19 years old and she was down to about 71 pounds. She was really scary. She had shut her body down completely. We had to put her into treatment. And treatment for anorexia is a long-term treatment. And because she could not get started again, they actually had to use IVs in the hospital to get her body starting to function again. Till finally, she was able to begin the process of recovery. In her case, it was so serious that she did 28 days in the rehab under supervision and then worked an outpatient program living in a recovery house that was connected to the rehab 5 days a week, then 3 days a week, then 2 days a week. So she finally was able to begin the process of moving forward. Took time. The outpatient process is really important. An IOP, intensive outpatient, is really important. It's an important part of the process of recovery. And again, it's like anything else. We have to make an investment in our life, an investment in our growth. And we have to go back and look at the roots and foundations of where all this actually stems from. I find it so amazing sometimes. We talked about that last week when I talked about codependency, because the concept is, breaking patterns that literally have become part of your journey and part of your life are not easy. And also, sometimes it's easy just to go back to them or substitute something else for them because I get scared and afraid to look at myself on the inside. And yet there's an adventure to all this. I truly believe, in a very deep way, that if people are able to turn the corner, and again, we don't put time slots on this, they're able to turn the corner to begin the journey on the other side. It may take patience, it may take time, it might take a good support system, a lot of people to help them and to guide them, to take them through maybe sometimes even their inner child work, to help them begin to get in touch with that little kid that's inside of them, to begin the healing process. It's almost like investing in so many beautiful things in your life. I joke with this, and I said it before. I invested a lot of money in therapy. In fact, I still go to therapy every 2 weeks. I probably will do that till about 10 days after I'm dead. I don't care, because I'm still learning, I'm still discovering things about myself as a person. And I realize how important that is. And basically, I've learned over the years that I need help and guidance in my journey in my life. And people need to realize the fact that the journey of learning about yourself is the most beautiful investment you can make on the face of this earth. I said this a long time ago. If I had the money I invested in therapy, I'd be a rich man today. But guess what? I am a rich man today because that money literally was well spent on me. And that's okay, because it really takes time. You know, I often said it takes a community, it takes a family to help bring us, to support us, to be part of our journey. Will we have pitfalls and will things come along that might aggravate us a little bit? Of course. I don't want the journey to be easy. It's a beautiful reading. I mentioned it last week, you know, in my eating disorder group, where it says, you know, there's no magic about recovery. It's hard work. And yet, hard work really means it's an investment in your life. It's beginning to realize how beautiful and special you are as a person. It's beginning to see the beauty inside of yourself as an individual. And I truly believe that deep down inside of each and every one of us, there's a beautiful, beautiful little child, a beautiful person that just wants to come alive and just wants to live, that wants to celebrate. But I've also learned in this process that if you do this and truly do work on yourself, then everything will come to you that's supposed to come to you. But it will come in God's time, not in our time. Believing what it tells you, it takes patience, it takes time, it takes investment. But the most beautiful journey in life is the journey that you have in working on yourself. Because the more you get to know who you are, the more you get to fill that void that's on the inside, the loneliness will begin to leave. You begin to enjoy your own company. You'll be able to celebrate the gift of who you are as a person. And yet, what's so beautiful about it is you're never done. It's the fun part about life. But once it be done, we want to continue the process of growing and learning. There's always something new to learn about ourselves. Each one of us is an adventure. I think that's wonderful. Make yourself be an adventure. You're an adventure in process of being discovered. Wow. Sounds like a kind of movie script, doesn't it? But we are kind of that adventure. And so deep down inside, we're all searching for a spiritual foundation, a spiritual sense of self. And believe what I tell you, it's not going to come from the outside. It's got to come from the inside. But I need support from the outside. I need to be able to be connected to a family of people that care, of people that will guide me, of people I can trust, I can feel comfortable with people I can be able to express myself with. And that comes over a matter of time. I have so much gratitude today for I've seen the miracles. You know, I've been around these rooms a long time and I've seen the miracles and I love the miracles. You know, today at the service for Carol, I witnessed, you know, a beautiful miracle in her. She has come a long way in her recovery, in her life. You know, it was a beautiful tribute paid to her today. There were over 250 people there in that church today. It was a powerful legacy to her. She has given most of her life to the work of helping others and connecting with others. And yet, you know, I find that so beautiful because I can relate back to my time with her. You know, I remember back when she first started, and she was a scared little kid when she first started, you know, and life changed dramatically for her, and she changed dramatically, and growth came from it. That's what's so beautiful about all of this. You know, and I'm grateful for her. You know, I'm grateful too because for the past 2 years, she was my therapist. I have a lot of gratitude for her today. And I know with my new therapist I'm working with now, we'll continue the process and continue the work, you know, because the life things go on. But I know there's a light, and the light is inside of each and every one of us. Every one of us is a walking, talking miracle. Congratulations. The more you get to know yourself, the more you begin to enjoy your own company, the more you get to celebrate who you are, then basically you'll be able to do that with others. I joke about this, but this is not a joke. I said, there's one person I must wake up to every morning. It's me. There's one person I cannot divorce. That's me. So I got to spend all that time with myself. I might as well get to love myself and enjoy myself and celebrate who I am, because I have to basically learn to enjoy my own company. And that's the way in which we break these patterns. We work our recovery program to the best we can do every day. But above all, like the reading said today, we use prayer to God, prayer to our higher power, prayer to our divine presence, whatever we choose to call that. We know that we need something on the outside to guide us and be with us on the journey. And so tonight, as I offer my closing prayer, I want you to remember, isolation addictions are exactly that. Do not isolate. Stay connected. And sometimes won't be easy, but we need each other. As we say in AA, pick up the 400-pound phone, talk to somebody, stay connected with someone. Because when you pick up the 400-pound phone, it only weighs 2 ounces when you pick it up. It's the beautiful part about it. But sometimes we think it takes forever. But the bottom line is, each one of us is unique. Each one of us is special. So let's treat ourselves that way. And so I offer prayer, and then next week we'll continue with the fantasy addictions, and we'll take it from there. Hope this helps you understand these a little bit better, and I hope to God that we can all, no matter where we go in life, continue the journey of working on ourselves. So let us pray. God, we come before you in prayer. We ask the God of our understanding, our divine presence, to guide us, to be with us, and be gentle with us on our journey. Help us to realize the beauty of who we are. Help us to work within to realize that a little bit at a time we go on a beautiful journey of discovering the gift that we are. With your help and with your guidance and your direction, we're able then to open up, to share with others and be connected with others. For you truly are our guide and our strength. Teach us to ask for your help, because I know when we ask for your help, you send messengers and teachers into our life every day. Those messages and those teachers are a big part of our learning process and our growing process. I know now, God, that nothing happens by accident. You are always there. You are a guide, you are our strength, you are our direction. And so with gratitude and with love, come before you tonight. We say thank you, and we ask for your guidance and your direction in all that we do. So we pray and we ask this every day. We pray for it as we talk to you and guide for guidance and strength. We ask this in your name. Amen.